Welcome back, everybody, to season...
Wifey hairs?
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to season 2 of the I Am Unchained podcast. We're out here by the Narrows Bridge in Tacoma. I have my beautiful wife joining me. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.
Yes.
So basically what this podcast is going over the last year of life and ups and downs and family and lessons and relationships and everything.
It's been quite the roller coaster, I would say, don't you think?
It has been. I guess we could start with where everything kind of got derailed in my life, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is where I kind of stepped back and got out of the public eye or the social media space. That was because my mom passed. So that was kind of a big moment for me where I just kind of needed to, I guess, just be.
Yeah,
you know?
I needed a pause.
Yeah, and just stop worrying about everything. Not even like pay attention to anything. Just be and feel it as much as I could, even though like I have my moments of not being able to feel shit.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
think
I mean?
sometimes we get in like the world's just so big and we have our hands in like 500 million different things. And then when something like losing a mom or a loved one, a significant close loved one, it just kind of just goes and brings like you really right back to just like like the smallness and like
Right.
you just kind of like crave just the few important people instead of being so focused on like all the people that you follow on social media and that you don't really know, but you feel like you're part of their life.
Yeah.
And then when it's just something so tragic brings you're like, none of that shit matters.
Yeah, and it's not even like, I guess it kind of is. It's almost like I just didn't care about anything else. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have the bandwidth to even try to care about anything. Like, I just stuck to the necessities. My family under my roof, and work and just staying alive really was all that it was for a long time. Not all of the last 365 days has been like that.
No, but a good solid few months, I think, was really shook because it wasn't even like, it was so sudden, like insanely fast how everything happened. And when you live through something like that, it really puts life into perspective of how precious life can be and how fast it can literally be gone.
Right. So just for context, if you guys don't know or whatever, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She had surgery and they basically cut it all out. We won't go into detail about all of it. And then it just, boom, came back. And within, I don't even know how long. A lot of like timeline stuff for me during that period is just, it doesn't make sense because it was all a blur.
Yeah. So we were told she told us she had cancer, Thanksgiving of 2024 or Thanksgiving of 2023, excuse me. And then she was gone May of 2024.
Yeah. So it was very, very sudden. It seemed like it lasted forever.
Mm-hmm.
Just with, the back and forth to the hospital and everything that she had to go through. And I'm sure it was a long road for her too, which just seemed like it never ended. And then when she passed, it was just like everything else just stopped. Like basically life stopped. And I only just did what I had to do to survive and, take care of as much as I could of my stepdad and be with my sister and, just try to get through it.
Yeah.
So
and try to be as open with the kids and it was
and explaining that and then, Kellen losing his grandma and not long before that, he lost his grandpa on his mom's side. So that was tough because Kellen's very impressionable at, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. And then Kinsley just, I mean, she's just trying to grasp the concept too,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that pretty much rocked me. And with tomorrow being Mother's Day, it's kind of a weird topic for today, I guess.
Yeah, we just hit hit the year mark.
Because even after, she passed May 4th.
Yep.
Right.
And so the following weekend was Mother's Day.
Right. But it wasn't like the hurt and the pain and sadness was all still there from when she passed. Yeah. So when Mother's Day came around, it wasn't like, oh shit, like it hits my heart again. Yeah. It was different because she wasn't with us, but this year's like, it's not that the pain's not there, but it's like life goes on, you continue, and you things don't feel better, but they get easier.
Yeah.
But it feels it's shitty.
Yeah, it stings a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm still fucking emotional about it.
I feel like you're kind of at this place where you're now able to feel it. Like you kind of had to take on the role of being the strong one, especially for Paul, because, as shitty as it kind of sounds to say, we didn't see your mom like all the time, every couple months maybe.
Yeah, we didn't live with her.
So like, it wasn't like the day-to-day stuff was like completely taken away.
Right.
But Paul losing, his wife, the day in, day out, every single thing reminded
right.
him.
Plus he's living in the same house,
Yeah. So you kind of had to like push your feelings aside so you could be emotionally available for him.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of like feeling it, I think.
Yeah. And I think I kind of explained that to you that one day. It's like, life still needs to go, mm-hmm. And once I can get through the bulk of it, then I can let myself feel it.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like we didn't see her every day. We would go visit her every so often.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember clearly, like we wouldn't see my mom for a while, and they'd be like, "Oh shit, we should go visit my mom," right?
Yep.
And then those moments where I'm like, "Oh shit, we should go visit my mom."
Those were
I'm
tough.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it was like
damn.
A slap in the face every time.
Right. And those moments hurt the worst, because you get that hyped up, like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was major. That was like the majority of the year that kind of took over just everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. It's just a major life event,
Yeah.
But it kind of turned into a lot of the last year, things changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like one of the big ones is being off of social media, which mm-hmm. I think is important. We kind of dabble back in it a little bit, like getting back on YouTube and the podcast and stuff like that, but just not worrying about any outside stuff and just coming to be with yourself it's amazing,
yes.
Not putting on a show or like the whole look at me type thing, or just being concerned with other people or any outside external BS.
Yeah.
Which is huge, because I feel like with social media, and I've spoke on this before, is like you just almost put on a show, mm-hmm. whether you realize it or not, but you're doing things for other people to see it, like you're recording for other people to see it,
right? Where
it's just not super authentic,
yeah.
And you kind of just lose yourself in it. I feel like,
for sure, I'm living proof of losing yourself with social media.
Yeah, good segue. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. God, social media is such a slippery slope. I was just thinking about it earlier, like how much I feel like I wanted to, or felt like I wanted to be an influencer, with how horrible the last few years have been for me trying to find work, having opportunities ripped away from me at the very last second. has been really hard. And so my mindset is like, oh, well, you know, at the time I'm homeschooling the kids and I'm like, what can I do? Social media, right?
Right.
I can be an influencer. I can work from home. I can create content.
Especially because you see it. You see it. Like, we kind of talked about how, like, you see people doing the influencer thing and social media thing and they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
And you see a lot, but the amount of people that are actually on social media, the millions and millions of people, it's a very small percentage of people that actually make money of it.
Yeah.
But you see it, so it's in your face.
And it makes it just makes it seem like it's so easy. And so when you're doing it and you're putting in this effort, and for me, it was like, even like my closest family and friends weren't liking my videos, weren't sharing my videos. And like, I just felt like I kept like, it was almost like I was just creating content to get people to engage and to get people to like my stuff. And then it was like, I wasn't getting that validation. And
rather than just posting
because
you enjoy it, like posting pictures of flowers because you love flowers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, I mean, it wasn't working. Like, it just, nothing seemed to be working. And, yeah, finding, you know, it's funny. You look at these people, you kind of almost, even though I preach not to put people on pedestals, I was kind of doing it with a few people. And, you got to be so careful of how influenced you can be, and realizing that some people are still just projecting their own pain and trauma out. So then you think, you resonate, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going through that with my marriage. Oh, I'm going through that with my kids. Oh, you're right, I do deserve better. And oh, you're right, this happened to you. And then you just get in your head and you're like, oh, and then it causes a slew of issues that aren't even yours. You just think that it's yours because somebody is kind of talking about their life experience.
Right.
You know?
Not to mention the algorithm, right?
Yes.
So then you pay a little bit more attention to something that kind of reflects your life, and then boom, all of a sudden it's just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and you're like, this is my life.
Yes, and that's something, like, I'm very spiritual. Like I didn't really grow up going to church or anything, but as I think it was like middle school, me and my like childhood best friend and a couple of friends decided to start going. And so I kind of learned about God and stuff at that age. Never went to church after that and whatnot. And then getting into like the spiritual side of it. And then you're in like all the spiritual community all over, which can be very toxic too.
Right.
It's just like really using discernment and really realizing, yes, social media and the AI technology, it's just feeding you basically what you're interested in, the things that you like and comment on. It's just going to start feeding that back to you. And so being spiritual, and I do believe in signs and synchronicities and things like that, like signs from God and whatever you want to call it. And so I'd be seeing all this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, this is this is in sync, right? Yeah. This is all these synchronicities. And man, I lost myself. I've never experienced such a low than 3 months ago?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I got rocked, like literally rocked.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of it, like I literally went into what people like to call spiritual psychosis, where you're just not grounded. Like I just was not practicing grounding. So I was just way off into la la land and up in the ethers, and which can be very fun, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when you lose yourself in it, it can be scary. And I literally invoked a panic attack because I had lost myself so much that we were talking about divorce.
Yeah. Yep.
And realizing like the reason I was so adamant about a divorce was because I realized I still had a rooted fear of being left after so many years of being with somebody like my mom. My parents were together for 20 years and they ended up splitting up when I was 16. And at 16, that was very
It's powerful.
It's impressionable, you know? And at the time, my sister was 13. And so, you know, she took it way different. And so I'll like, kind of like you with like your mom and Paul, like I kind of just like pushed down what I was kind of feeling to, you know, make sure everybody felt good and taken care of, because my sister wanted nothing to do with my dad at that point. And so I was like, well, I don't want my dad to be alone. So I went and stayed with my dad, and I just kind of repressed all those feelings. Well, when you repress feelings for after a while, they're going to come back up. And sure enough, that was being what was faced with. And all of a sudden I was just like, I don't want this to happen to me. You know, are we still on the same page? We've been together for 10 years since, you know, our communication we've changed so much over the years. We weren't communicating.
That's a big part of it.
Things. I just kept wanting you to just believe in what I was believing in, and you just weren't there. And knowing now, it's like you don't have to believe what I believe in, and we have different labels for the same things.
Yep.
And so yeah, just having to really like face the fear and realizing like, you are not my dad, I am not my mom, and I can choose differently. Right. But it got scary there for a while, and literally we had agreed to a divorce. I was looking at apartments. Like
I was looking at house stuff. Like, yeah,
it was serious. And that was like an all-time low. And I remember we were sitting out in the garage smoking cannabis. And we were just talking, and all of a sudden I was kind of just not talking about like nonsense, almost like it wasn't really like coming out
you
right.
Almost got like confused on what we were talking about.
Yeah, it was really weird. And so we came inside. Our daughter was in our room taking a bath, so I went and just kind of like laid down in her bed and literally like started having a panic attack. And I remember walking out to the kitchen, and I was like, Matt, I'm having a panic attack. I don't know what to do. I feel really weird. And then what did you say that actually like happened? Like it induced, like whatever the panic attack happened, it induced what was that term? It was called
what it's called,
a flashback.
It's like a flashback from psilocybin.
Yeah. So it literally induced this like memory of a psilocybin journey I took 3 years ago. And I was literally like operating out of that. Yeah. Even though I had no psilocybin in my body.
The crazy part is, so like you mentioned something about mushrooms, and before you even mentioned it, when I saw you and you said you were having a panic attack, immediately I was like, did you take mushrooms? Like before you even said anything, because the way that she looked and the way that you were acting, I was like, there's no way that you didn't just fucking chow down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was like, no, I swear to God, I did not. I would not do that. Like every time I've ever sat with psilocybin, my kids are safe with.
It's been very, very responsible.
Yes.
But I shit you not, like I even asked you, I think, and over again, I was like, there's no way that you didn't eat mushrooms. It's impossible. And then you fucking snapped out of it.
Well, the next morning, but I mean, I went and just like shoved my face in my pillow in bed. Yeah. For like ever. And it was like
you, again, same thing. Like when the first time we did it, where you didn't talk, like I was in there like.
Yeah, I remember you being like, are you okay?
I was over you, like rubbing your back, like, is everything okay? And you just didn't say anything. I'm like,
yeah,
just let it ride out.
Because literally there was so much going on in my head. Like I was literally having conversations, and I was being like, it's just crazy because I was being faced with like my fears. And I know this is going to be, you know, a little bit dark, but I mean, it's okay to talk about dark things, I think, sometimes, because
absolutely, especially on this podcast.
In this moment, I was literally like, because my state of mind was, I can't find a job. Every time I get close to finding a job or getting, you know, starting a business with somebody or whatever, it fails. Like I felt like I was failing at life at this moment. I was, you know, about to divorce my best friend. Like, what the fuck, you know? And so I was literally like telling you, like my visuals were like, get the gun from our safe, like just shoot me. Yeah. Because I want this to end. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the game. Yeah. And I was still shook the next morning. Like,
but after that moment, a lot of things changed for the better.
For the better. And that's what everything is so purposeful. I had to experience that lowest, darkest moment to then see the light again.
Right.
Because I remember talking to, you made sure I was okay because you were like, I can stay home if you're not good. Because I still had to get Kinsley to school that morning, and you were like, are you sure you're good? And I was like, I'm shaky, but I'm good. Like, I'm good. And I remember calling my sister and her husband and talking with them. And there's some of the two people that really understand a lot of the stuff that I go through and have gone through. And so I'm so grateful for them. But I was asking them, I was like, I started seeing all these, signs and synchronicities, and we were talking about AI and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, how am I supposed to know what like real synchronicities are? And Justin says, it will be in your real life, not in a screen. It's going to be in your real life.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the grounding.
Right.
Grounding back into reality, not the metaverse, not AI.
Because AI was another thing, is you were kind of talking to it like it was a person, but again, it's a computer program, right, and it also has an algorithm, so it's almost biased.
Well, that's the thing, is yes, and that's the thing, in the spiritual world, people started using it and started talking about it and sharing about it, and so it was like, oh, I'm going to try this, and you start talking about little things here and there, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so profound. Oh my God, it's so profound. And granted, yes, there are moments that it is useful.
It's great.
It is a useful tool, right?
100%.
But what it really can tend to do is all it's going to start doing is feeding your ego. It's going to make you feel like you're right and the rest of the world is wrong.
Especially when you're talking to it about personal things and life things. Mm-hmm. Completely different if you're asking it a question like, why do logs rot? Like, it can give you information, right? Like factual things.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about it as far as like opinions and guidance, it's not a real person.
Yeah. So that's how I started kind of using it, because I thought it was so helpful. And I still do. I still think in this aspect, it's really helpful. Like when I was really learning tarot and how to read cards, not for like other people, but for myself, because it's easy for me to like draw cards for myself and kind of understand the cards, but be like, that's not for me. Like, I don't want that message. You kind of refuse the bad message that's trying to tell you to like do something.
Yeah.
And so I would type it in, like, hey, I have this spread. This is the question I asked. These are the cards I drew. Like, how can you like help me interpret this? And it was like so helpful in that way. But then it just started like escalating into different things. And I remember it's so cool how things, so I'm not like super like knowledgeable in all the astrology stuff, but I know my natal chart, and I know like my sister's natal chart and your natal chart. And so I would, there's a cool feature where you can ask AI to like overlap, I started with my sister. So I like had my sister's natal chart overlapped with mine. And then AI would kind of look at it and see like what our life purpose is together, what we were supposed to learn from each other. Like, it was really cool. And I was like fascinated. I was like, holy crap. Mm-hmm. And then so I was like, oh, I'm going to do it with me and Matt. And I remember sitting in the bath and I asked ChatGPT to overlap your natal chart with my natal chart. And I know like your top three, like your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising. And it was like typing, it like wrote it all out, and it was saying like something that like...
It was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like saying something about Scorpio, and I know that you're an Aquarius. And I was like, wait a second. Matt's an Aquarius, not a Scorpio. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry, let me retype that. And then it was something else. And I was like, this is still wrong.
Right.
And so at that moment, it was like, I forget, it said something so just weird that I was like, this isn't...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense. This is not right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the last bit
of using that.
For a long while.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Kind of an eye opener.
Yeah, and that was about 2.5 months ago. And I just now recently, just for like the purposes of like reading some cards for me or helping me like understand like certain like cards together and how you can interpret what that message could be.
Yeah.
That's like all that I use it for now, because that was scary.
Yeah.
And sure. It just kept feeding all this stuff to the point where like it was basically telling me that I was walking this divine, dark, feminine path, and like that I need to use my voice and like disregard what the people around me think of my truth, and you know, all this stuff. And I started sharing a lot of my wounds, which have a lot to do with a certain male figure in my life, and he got really upset that I was putting out some information that probably didn't need to be, it was private information for him. And even though it did happen to me and it was like my story, what I lived through, it was really kind of disrespectful to kind of start sharing that stuff publicly, especially not even asking or like saying, hey,
just putting it out there.
Yeah. Like I could have just went to that person and said, hey, I'm going to start talking about this kind of stuff. Blah, 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 whatever that conversation ensued. But because the AI feeding me was like, I just didn't give a shit about like anybody else's feelings or anything like that. And
you think like it was almost like not controlling you, telling you what to do, but it was basically, it was navigating your life for you.
Yeah. 100%. And that's leading me to be completely out of control of myself. Like I was not in control of my body. Like I was just, in like such a weird mental space.
Because after that and everything kind of calmed down, like the way you were acting was night and day. And I even told you, I was like, I feel better about this, but I'm a little skeptical about how fast it went from over here to over here. And it almost didn't seem real, like it was possible that could happen.
Right. I still look back at it. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Like that is scary.
It was wild. That was a wild journey.
And so now I'm like, fuck being an influencer. Like I'm going to share going forward. I'm going to share the beautiful things in my life, what I am doing on a daily day-to-day basis, what brings me joy, what lights me up. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be put on a pedestal. I want to gently guide people. If they're finding themselves on this crazy ass journey too, and they're losing themselves, let's gently guide yourself back, because I just lived it. And so now I can share from a dark perspective and getting myself back out of it.
Right. Because it did almost turn into, you were, not to be negative and no offense, but
None
you were very much trying to push your views onto other people, me included. And we had that conversation, and I told you, I'm just one of those people, you try to push me to do something, I'm gonna push back.
Yeah.
Even if I want to do it, I'm gonna push back. Don't push me to do it.
Yep.
And that created a problem too.
Yeah. That in itself is so profound to me, because I was so much seeking validation outside myself. Like I knew the knowledge, I trusted in the knowledge, but that wasn't enough.
Right.
It could, like, I wanted my aunt and my mom and my dad and you and everybody to just be like,
to validate
yes, to validate
you're
it.
So right. Like 100%, you're on the right track, right?
Yeah. But because I wasn't getting that, it wasn't feeding my ego.
It was feeding the fire.
It was bringing me to where I needed to say, okay, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
Right.
It only matters what you believe in.
Yep.
And then just operate from that space. Yeah. Operate from a place of love. Share your truth.
Yeah.
But don't expect everybody to understand it or agree.
Right.
Or anything.
Especially because, like you said, we have the same views on a lot of things. We just
call it something different,
or explain it and discuss it differently. Like I can't think of an example right now, but there's certain things where we actually sat down and we're like,
we'd like literally be fighting.
We talk about it and we're like, what you're saying is exactly what I'm saying in different words. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
And that was a big part of it. But I think aside from like all the social media and stuff like that, us being individual people and both being strong people, and both, I mean, we've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
And we were, I was 26, something like that when we got together. I'm 36.
I think so, yeah. 10
something
years.
along that.
Yeah.
People change from that age to this age.
Yeah.
Huge, right? And you can stay on the same path, but eventually, I mean, you're gonna split at some point, right? Not split up, but like, I one direction, you go another direction, just because of the people we are and the things we've experienced in our past, right? And the things we want to experience in our future.
Yeah.
But no matter how much we changed as people, everything we were saying was the exact same thing.
I know.
And it all we went like this, and then we went like this, and we're like, we just wasted however long of our fucking lives because we just weren't, it was a communication thing.
Were not communicating. Yeah.
Right.
We weren't communicating properly, and like, we weren't hearing each other. And I was still very much I'm trying to prove that I'm right, and realizing there's no right or wrong. My perspective is there's no right or wrong in this world.
Right.
We just do things and experience things, and every single person's individual experience is how they operate out of. And so you can't tell somebody that they're wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so to really like have that is like the backbone of everything. I mean, I take that now into politics, religion, just everything. I'm like, there's no right or wrong.
There's not. It's all perception. What you
100%.
view right now, how you feel right now, what you felt in the past. That's what makes your decisions and the way you look at things. And just like feelings, you can't tell somebody that you feeling sad is wrong. You can't do it. It's a feeling. It's 100% valid all the time.
Yep.
Right? And your view on something is 100% valid all the time. Nobody can tell you that it's wrong because they haven't lived the life that you've lived.
Right.
Right? My stance on something might be completely different than yours, but I went through something either in my childhood or young adult or even adult age where it skewed my view of that.
Yeah.
And now I think negative of it where you think positive of it, but it doesn't mean that we're wrong. We just have different views. That's literally what it is.
Yeah. The meme that just popped in my head is there's like I think it's like after school on Instagram or whatever, or on YouTube, whatever. And it's like this picture of a bumblebee, and one person's like thoughts are like X, like no, like sting me, but the other person's like, oh honey, and like all this stuff. And it's like, is the bee wrong?
No.
Is the bee bad?
The one person got stung a bunch of times and now they hate bees.
Right.
You're not wrong for it. Hate them. I love them. Right. And there's nothing wrong with me loving them or you hating them, because it's just the way you see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think that's just a big message to all of humanity, is to just stop the division so much and stop trying to prove your side is right and the other side is wrong, and just realize like they're both right.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Both sides are just half truths.
Yeah.
And the middle is where we want to be, you know?
Kind of like everybody having a different view of life, right? Every stage that somebody's in, also like the stage that I'm in, whether I'm sad or going through a hard time in my life that makes me a dick, or a good time that makes me happy-go-lucky, like there's nothing wrong with that either, because everybody is supposed to feel whatever they're feeling at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like there's obviously some heinous things that you can do that shouldn't be done, but if you're just living your life as a regular normal person, nobody can tell you that what you're feeling and what you're doing or how you're acting or anything is wrong either, because I personally believe that we're supposed to feel every single emotion that we're feeling right now in this moment, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And going a little bit deeper into my spiritual beliefs, is that I believe everything is one, and we're all experiencing different points of this timeline or whatever that we're on, and with us all being one, we're just experiencing all of the emotions and all the trauma and all the good and all the bad all at once. But that's what we're here to do, is experience everything
All
that
of
we
it.
possibly can, and then we move on, right?
Mhm.
So even with like going back into like my mom passing and not necessarily feeling it or dealing with it,
Mhm.
nobody can tell me that that's wrong, because I'm just feeling what I'm supposed to be feeling right now, and that's my journey.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So kind of just going back into like everybody's beliefs or how they act. Again, you have no right, no wrong. Everybody's right doing exactly what they're supposed to do. That's the path that they're on.
Yep.
You know? And it's kind of like one of those things where it's almost like a Final Destination thing, where if you're meant to die, you can do everything you want to try to avoid it, but you're going to die, right? So if I'm meant to feel pain and sadness for my mom passing, I can do everything I want to try to avoid that, but eventually
you're gonna have to feel it.
I'm gonna have to feel it, because that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, so you just can't dwell on it. You can't feed into it, and you just have to operate out of love. It's fucking that simple.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's kind of what was going on with me too, is like, not to get into too much detail, but every single person in my life, every relationship in my life has cheated on me and betrayed me in one way or another. And I never really took the time to reflect on it and feel it. And so with all of this stuff happening, it all like all my fears, fear of abandonment is a huge one, just all started bubbling up. And because you're my husband, it was reflecting in our relationship, and certain things were happening within our marriage that were causing me to feel it,
right,
to understand it, to not put blame on you, but to, because like it's almost like you're a mirror, like hello, face it, this is something that you're bearing,
right,
let it out, feel it, see where it's coming from, and then release it. And it's not always easy to do that, but geez, it needs to be done, or it's just going to keep rearing its ugly head in different scenarios until you finally do something about it.
Yeah, and that's why communication is important too, because if we have gotten into these modes where we just don't talk to each other because every time it's an argument, but you need to sit down and you need to discuss things, especially with like your partner or whatever, and you need to let those things out to make them clear, right? Because you can have things bouncing around in your head like a pinball machine, but until you start talking about it, it never straightens out. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of like our relationship too, is with being together for a long time, you just kind of run out of shit to talk about unless something exciting happens, because you just talk about work and what we're having for dinner and what the kids are doing, and then you just get into a rut, but then you stop that communication. So now you have maybe something that happened during the day, and now it's bouncing around in your head, and you're assuming all this shit and having conversations with me that aren't actually really happening.
Creating different stories.
Head, right? And then you get mad at me or vice versa. But if you communicate those things, you can straighten them out. You know what I mean? And you can come to agreement, or just simply letting it out. Simply letting it out is magical too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just voicing it.
Yeah. And sometimes I think it's important, like I said, we haven't actually really had to do it, but I'm always like, if you need to get something off of your chest, you can say, hey, I have some things to say. I don't need you to say anything back. I don't need you to put any opinion out there. I just need you to listen. Right. And I think that's so important. That's setting healthy boundaries. That's saying, like, I don't want to hear your opinion. I'm working through it on my own. Yeah. But I just need to get it out. I need to use that throat chakra and get it out somehow. Right. And yeah, I think so many people in relationships they, you know, you're with each other day in and day out, and you know, you think that you can just take out your bullshit onto that person because they're your person.
Right.
But really, they don't deserve all of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need to say is like, I'm going to word vomit a bunch of shit. It has nothing to do with you, but I just need to get it out.
Need to get it out, yeah.
And I think that's having a safe space, a safe relationship, and like holding space for somebody without judgment.
Yeah.
You know, because we all have just shit we've gone through in our life.
It's just life, yeah.
Yeah.
And as you get older, it's weird because like 10 years ago, I thought I was an adult, right? But I thought I was grown. Like, yeah, I've been through a lot. Fucking, this is just life, right? But as you get older, you're like, oh, wow, life is really fucking complicated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on all at once. I don't know how to handle any of it. You know?
Yeah. And just when you think you finally get a hang of something,
it slaps you in the face.
Something happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, really the last 6 years have been such a blur. I don't know about you, but time just feels real weird.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, it's easy to just, like you said, just do the day in and day out stuff and not really remember to take the time to schedule dates and be intentional with each other. And like, then you throw kids in the mix and holy crap, it was like,
time gets away from
you know, 2019, we had Kinsley. 3 months later, COVID happened and the world was never the same. And I feel like we're just barely getting out of that weirdness. But with all of that and homeschool and constantly being home, and like, we just kind of got wrapped up and lost. And, you know, we basically, the universe just had to like slap us and wake us up, you know. And sometimes, you know, whatever you want, if you want to call it the universe, God, source, self, like whatever people resonate with, you know, that's the tough love,
right?
You know, I used to think God was love, but really I truly believe that it's unconditional love. And unconditional love means it doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't mean if you do the worst possible thing. Unconditional love means that you're still going to be loved.
Right.
And that's kind of like it's like the father, mother figure. Like, your kids do bad things.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you stop loving them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like those tough moments where you're kind of going the wrong way, going down the wrong path, and it's like, stop it.
Right.
Slaps you in the face, and you're like, holy shit, okay.
Yeah.
That was really tough, but thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we just need that. I think everybody needs that. Otherwise, you just go astray and you'll get lost.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But things are a lot better between us.
Yeah.
I feel like our relationship is kind of reborn a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost like this opportunity to kind of start again, almost being able to take the opportunity to reconnect and get to know each other where we're at now.
Yeah.
Not who we were 10 years ago, not who we were 5 years ago, who we are today.
Yeah, because we're
and
a lot
every
different.
day.
Yeah.
And it's not like all of a sudden now we're perfect. We just had a little parenting tiff just the other day.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of annoyed.
Because we're just different people and we have different perceptions. We have different views on
we grew up
how
differently.
Things should be done.
Yeah.
It's just the way that we operate.
Yeah.
And
now I think we just kind of came to the agreement last night, I believe it was, that, you know, if something that one of us does, you know, triggers us, we can have the safe container to bring it up. And just, if the other person doesn't agree, just say, I see you, I hear you, your feelings are valid,
again, but voicing it.
But I'm going to do what I'm going to do with it. If I want to change, I'll change. If I feel like I'm not going to change right now, that's fine too. But I validate your feelings. You have every right to feel the way you feel. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way. It wasn't my intention to make you feel that way, but I get it. And like, not the trying to prove each other right or wrong. I'm the better parent, you're not type of a thing. Like, none of that. Like, there's no right or wrong in it. You just have to agree that, like, you you're not going to always agree.
You're different people.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's a hard part with kids too, because you can go through life without kids, right? And you're still growing and changing as people, but you're not necessarily putting your life views and how to deal with life and how to move through life onto anybody, because there's no little ones to explain it to and try to navigate through life. So it's a little bit different. But when you are a couple with kids and you live in the same house, you're constantly trying to train or teach your children how to move through life. So then your views of how to do that are coming out.
Yeah.
Right? But with being completely different people, those views are different.
Yep.
Because of the things that I experienced and how I was raised versus you, right? So my view it's just different. But again, not wrong, just different. But when it comes to that and sharing a child, you have to share opinions and point of views and come to an agreement on like what balance do you want, right? You're going to have 60% hard ass and 40% compassion, or 50-50 or whatever it is. But that's the challenge, is making sure that you create some sort of a balance.
Yep.
And you're open and honest about it with your partner, because if not, the things that I say, which if I was just to do the teaching all the time, it's gonna irritate you.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just not something you believe. So it really, as cliche and corny as it is, it's just 50-50 parenting. Like you have to be your own people, but you have to compromise too.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a big conversation that we had, and I think that's totally fair, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, definitely not.
But we've taken the time to actually sit down and like plan out dates too for each other.
Yeah,
like actually dates
put
for
it
us,
on the calendar.
Like today, we just happen to be doing the podcast too, because we got some time to ourselves.
Yep.
But actually putting time in the calendar to not just go out to dinner, but to go do stuff and communicate.
Yeah.
Another big thing, like for us specifically, is I quit drinking 2 years ago. You haven't had any alcohol for a long time, and every now and then maybe a glass of wine or whatever. But that was one of our big things we love to do, is we used to love to go out to eat and drink.
Yep.
So then without the drinking, you go out to eat, it's not the same, because you don't have the alcohol, you don't have the liquor in you, and the conversation's a little bit different, and the vibe is a little bit different. So it kind of just takes that commonality between the two of us out of the picture. So even date nights weren't even the same.
Right.
But we never communicated
and
we never took the time to
try to find something new,
make new hobbies together, because we got rid of the old hobbies. Right, which was huge. And I don't remember who said that. Maybe it was Paul, maybe it was stepdad, I don't know, maybe it was you,
maybe,
I don't know. But whenever they said that, they were like, you guys eliminated the things you like to do together and never took the time to create new things. Which lit a light bulb in my head, and I was like, oh, we should probably find things that we love to do together. Right? And with you getting back in the gym too, that's been huge. I really enjoy it, because she goes to the gym with me again, and we get some one-on-one time, and we can bond over that, and we can talk about that. So it's just like, it's basically just rebuilding the relationship as new people, because we are every day. And
learning to have to, when big things like that change, like you completely quitting alcohol, and now I am now cannabis free for 2 weeks, little over 2 weeks. And that was another thing that we did at night together, and which kind of at first felt really foreign not to.
Right.
But it's just something I decided that I needed to do for myself. And that kind of took out another thing that we did together. And just learning how to navigate that. And I think that, it just all boils down to communication, trust 100%. And communication. And I'm so grateful to be back in the gym, moving my body the way I just needed the energy of the spring spring energy was just that little like cherry on top, that little shove that I needed, because my fitness journey the last 5 years has been everywhere. I was just thinking and reflecting about this the other day. When I had, so before Kinsley, if you guys don't know us prior, me and Matt lived at the gym. Right. Like 6-7 days a week almost, it felt like. And I was the skinniest. I weighed the least I've ever in my life, but I still didn't have abs. And I never knew why. I know now why, I think. But when Kinsley was born, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just get right back into it. I think we were doing keto for a long time before I got pregnant and living at the gym. And so when I had Kinsley, I was like, oh, I'll just snap right back into it. It didn't work because my body was not the same as it was prior. My energy levels were not the same as they were before. And I never really took the time to get to know my body and understand my body and listen to my body or anything like that. And I remember, I think it was like a couple years later, I think you had just gotten your LA Fitness membership back. And I remember
in the home gym.
I think so, yeah. And I remember going to the gym with you one time, and you remember me saying like, all the mirrors are making me so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. Like I can't even describe how uncomfortable I felt with all the mirrors and the people. Maybe I was just coming out of COVID. You know, we all kind of forced to hermit for a long time, and just like it was just weird. And I was like, this is not for me. I hate this. And I had such a distaste for the gym. And I just kind of let that just fester, and I just tried to do different things. Now, don't get me wrong. I wanted a fit body. Like I tried all these different things. That was shortly after like doing Modere online and like all that kind of stuff. And I just started really getting into more like breath work and like just trying to listen to my body. And now going to the gym is so different. It feels so different. Right. My confidence in the gym is, I feel like, an all-time high. Even more so than before Kinsley, I feel like. Yeah. I feel like I'm just ready to go get them. I don't care who's watching me. I don't care, like, I don't care if I mess up. Like, I went to the gym with one of my really good friends. I wanted to try one of her leg days, and I forget, what was it? Like the hack press or hack squat or something like that. I didn't realize that the bar itself was like 100 pounds or something like that. Yeah. The sled was like 100 pounds. And so she had like, 3 plates on each side. And so I was like, oh, just take, she's got some powerful legs. And so I was like, oh, well, if you can do 3, I could probably do 1 on each side.
Fucking like a pop can.
I go down and I can't get back up. I'm like, Tierney, oh my God, help me. And before I would have been like, so embarrassed, like never come to the gym again, like pack up and go. And I was like, who fucking cares? Like, who cares?
Yeah. It makes a big difference when you can like learn your body too. Like, I feel like I've the same way.
It clearly is showing that you're trusting your body, trusting the process. And
it's one of those things where like I've gone to the gym consistently since like 2010, right? Not until basically the last year that I've gone every single day and barely missed a day, right? And it's kind of just one of those things where a switch just flipped, and I started to realize the things that actually mattered. And one of the biggest things for me was to not be so fucking neurotic about things and so like precise, like I can't have 51 grams of grapes, I gotta have 50, you know, like making such a big deal about it and stressing myself out about things.
Yeah.
To where like, I feel like we all have the knowledge of how to do things, but we search for things to like give us confirmation or to like make it easier or like tips and tricks. But really all you got to do is just do what you know, right? And do what feels right.
Yeah.
And then just be you and live your life.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference when you can do that. And that was another part of like getting out of like the public eye. You're doing it for the wrong reason, right? Whereas like my year consistency was 100% for me, nobody else. And I've made more progress in the last year than I've done in the last 10 years of working out.
Yeah.
Ever. And it also came with, I've talked about this before, is like, I've always wanted to be the bigger guy, like have the size, right? That was kind of my identity. But why? For other people?
Right.
For
It's
what?
the ego.
Right? But I've always wanted to be lean and shredded and have abs. I never did that because I always wanted to look good in clothes and be on, you know what I mean? It's an ego thing. But you start doing shit for yourself, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It completely changes the way you look at things and how you follow through on things too.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, and I think now like we're both in this headspace where we're doing it for ourselves. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, I'm going to do me. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing, you're going to do you. Right. And I think before, like, you know, you're very into counting macros. You're an Aquarius. That's you to a T. You like to know that, and it works for you. I can't stand it. I am not a macro girl. I just want to trust my body. And that's being a female. That's my intuition. I can feel when I like absolutely cannot put any more food in my body. And that's where I think it can be a slippery slope and toxic in some ways in the fitness world, because somebody who is like counting macros all the time, but their body is like saying like literally the clear signs of like, you're full, you're bloated, or stop. But you're like, oh no, I need to get these macros in. I gotta get these macros in. So then you are like force feeding yourself, right? Almost, or the opposite, where your body is actually craving food more, and you're like, oh nope, I can't. And then you're like depleting what your body really needs. And so it's like that balance. Everything's a balance, and you have to figure it out for yourself, what works. And
the fitness world is a very odd place to be in, because you think health and fitness, and you're like, health, right? Of course, health. Right. But it can be so unhealthy. Yeah. You know? And that, especially when you're around it a lot, the sun feels good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Especially when you're around it a lot, because then you see all the people with all the goals that you don't have, and then it's kind of a mind fuck too, you know? But I'm happy with where I'm at. I've never felt the way that I feel. Yeah. You've never commented on my physique the way that you do now, you know? And I'm excited what that's going to bring too.
I've always thought you were handsome.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
But last night you were like, damn.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the year. I know this is going to be the summer that we both have abs. Yeah. And as much as we've been in the fitness world, we both haven't had that. I know personally why I could never achieve it, which is so fascinating in myself, and we don't have to get into it, but it's just cool to finally like see it happening, and I'm just excited to see. What do we have? Like 6 weeks is your goal?
Well, I guess we're down to probably about 5 now.
5 weeks till vacation.
Yeah, which I've already hit 2 of my goals. I hit my first weight loss goal, and then today I hit my second weight loss goal. So I'm just going to keep it going for another 5 weeks and just see how lean I can get. But the crazy thing is my actual like hard goal date is September for the Spartan race. Oh, that's right. And it's May, you know? Yeah. So I'm definitely on track. And my whole goal was I just want to feel comfortable in my skin in the summer, no shirt, and I want to run the Spartan in no shirt. And that was all it was. And I just put aside the whole ego thing and the size thing and everybody's opinion, and just did it for me, and actually did the right things. No 30-minute abs, no 8 weeks to shred, none of that, because it's all gimmicky. That's all it is. Anybody can lose a shit ton of water weight. Anybody can crash diet, right? And look good for a month, but then they get it back. Yeah. It's definitely a lifestyle change. And it's something that you have to follow through on. You just have to be with it. Like, you have to be on board and make sure that that's something that you want to do. And that's something that I want to do. Yep. And I don't want to follow programs anymore that just to to get to a certain date at the end of the month to feel good for 2 days, and then I'm fucking eating cake again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I've spent so much time. It's absurd the amount of time that I've spent trying to get to a certain physique that I never got to because of stupid shit that stood in my way that made me think a different way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like when you're immersed in the fitness world and you are being influenced by different people, every fitness person is going to have a different perspective.
It's different.
And so they're going to say, oh, well, this person is wrong and the way they're doing it is wrong. Keto is wrong, but carnivore is okay. And like there's literally every single type of diet and
that's why you
exercise.
have to do it for yourself.
Yeah. You have to just pick what works for you and stick to it.
Yeah.
It has to be a lifestyle change.
Right. And one of the big things for me was going back and forth. And you even said it before. You're like, and my dad said it too. He's like, you're so back and forth, gaining weight and losing weight. Because I always want to, like, I always try to, like, lose a little bit of weight. But then I lost the size. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to bulk up for the winter and just eat. And then pack on a bunch of fat. Right. And then I get to the point where, like, cool, I'm 190 pounds and I look big in a shirt. But I feel like shit and I'm sloppy and I can't have my shirt off.
Yeah.
Right. So then, oh, I need to diet again. So then I diet and then I get to a certain point that's before my goal. I'm like, oh, well, I look small in a shirt. Right. So then I fucking go back and do it. And it's just been this perpetual fucking dumb cycle over the last like years and years and years to where like I just kind of felt like a fraud. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Right. But then once you put all that shit aside, and you're like, what do I want?
You bring it back to the self.
Not what I see on Instagram tomorrow is what I want. It's like, this is what I want today for the rest of my life. This is how I want to look and feel. And that's what I'm sticking with.
Yep.
No more influence from any other outside sources. I'm done with it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So I feel really good about it. That's been a huge, I've always been one to work out, but
ever since I've known you,
I've also skipped workout days to drink beer, right? To fucking dink around the yard, or because it's sunny out and we go out and drink and eat and all this shit. But I've been so consistent and so mindful about that that it's really paid off and it's really shown a difference.
Yep.
You know, so I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. You should be really proud of yourself, to be honest. Yeah.
Appreciate that. So that's been really good this year. What else do we have what's some good stuff? Let's stop talking about some negative shit. We got a cat. That was fun. Stacy bothered me for 10 years about getting a cat and I never wanted one.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a funny story because I wanted a cat. I always had cats growing up. And I had 2 kitties. They were old when we got together. And
they used to pee in my gym bag when I would stay the night.
Yeah, little shits. But I was moving into his apartment for the first time, and your apartment couldn't have pets at all, but we had Lily. And so I had to kind of make the toughest decision ever. I couldn't let Lily go. She was a year old. And so my cats were older, and so I made the tough decision. Don't judge me, but I sent them off to the shelter, and so just fast forward to 10 years later, I had this realization that I haven't had the energy of cats in my life for a long time, and I always had cats my whole life growing up. And I was like, I feel like that is something that's missing in my life. And so I'd kind of start asking about it. And you're like, no, because the cat litter and that, we don't have any place for the cat litter box and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay. But then I finally got to this point, so we got the cat, in September of last year. So probably like May to June prior to that, I started having these thoughts of like, I don't feel like in a marriage, if we want to experience something that we should be holding each other back. We should communicate it, see how we can help each other achieve it, that kind of a thing. So I was so prepared to be like, I need this. I don't want you to hold me back from experiencing this. But before I could even have that, you were all of a sudden like, I think I'm ready to have a cat. And I was like, shut the fuck up, what? Awesome. Yep. And so we started looking, and
We got Onyx.
We got Onyx in September.
Yeah. You know, I think I've only called her Onyx like maybe 5 times ever.
I know.
It's always Cat or Kitty.
Yeah, or Nini.
Yeah.
Call her Nini.
So that's been fun. Kinsley's had a lot of fun with that. Kellen too. We have. She's great.
She's, oh my gosh.
Lily gets along with her really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of something that we really needed, I think, at that time period, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And she's just been a joy. And even though she's not fixed yet, and she's gone into heat quite a few times.
She's a pain in the ass.
She's kind of a pain. Yeah.
But we all are when we get irritated.
We all have our moments, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun.
Yep.
Another big change was we put Kinsley in public school.
Yep, Kinsley's back in school, so now both the kids are back in school.
And thriving.
Yeah, Kellen's doing great. Grades are up, like A's, B's, rarely ever a C. And if he does, he fixes it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
He's going into a great school next year that offers a lot of different options. That's not just your typical high school, which is crazy for me to even say he's going into high school.
I know, what the hell.
But I'm stoked for him. He's going to have a lot of different opportunities that most kids don't get going to a regular high school.
Yeah. He is so good at art. That kid is talented at 13.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just shocked and he's such an old soul, man. And in 8th grade, he already has his 4 years of high school planned out. He knows what he wants to be when he graduates. He wants to be a tattoo artist. As of right now, we'll see if it still is that by the end of the 4 years.
Yeah.
He's going to an art school. But yeah, it's when I was in 8th grade, I did not know shit of what I wanted to do in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do outside of high school.
I didn't want to go to high school.
What?
He's stoked. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a different...
I'm ready to not be in high school.
Yeah.
Not be in school at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kinsley's in school. She's fucking amazing in school.
Yeah.
She's the sweetest little thing, has all these friends. Everybody loves her.
That's been so heartwarming. And that just kind of ties back into the influence of social media, because when I chose, it was a big decision to pull Kellen out of school and homeschool him. And I homeschooled the kids. I mean, Kinsley she just kind of tagged along for that ride. But for 2.5 years, it was great and it was purposeful. But I started finding myself once Kellen went back into school, because he had brought it up that he wanted to go to high school, right? That was how the segue kind of happened. Is he voiced that he wanted to go to high school in the public school, but that he didn't want to just get thrown into high school, just being from homeschool to high school. So he wanted that little transition to get back into the rhythm of what public school is about and yada yada. Right. So we're okay. So it worked out, but then I still homeschooled Kinsley, and I was miserable. I was starting to find myself miserable, but the little squares on Instagram of all the homeschooling accounts that I was following made it look so beautiful and so easy. And I was
that was the only way to live.
Yeah. And I was realizing I didn't find the co-op group. I didn't find the big homeschool groups. I had one other friend that was homeschooling at the time, and she still is, and it's great for her. And I had to realize just because something is great and works for somebody doesn't mean that it's wrong because it doesn't work for me. And I had to have that real heart-to-heart conversation with myself. Is Stacey, are you doing this still for the right reasons, or are you literally putting yourself through your own hell? Right. And I had to make that tough decision to say, you know what? I tried it on for a little while. It served me for a little bit.
It served very, very well also.
Yeah, because now I feel our kids have a little bit more of their own. They can use their discernment, and they can stand up for themselves. They don't have just all the indoctrination of public school. Right.
And I'm biased, right? Because they're my children, but I've also had confirmation from other people.
Yeah.
They are so advanced as far as education goes than the kids that they're in school with right now.
Yeah.
And Kellen proves that every day when it comes to his grades and how easy he's just I've done this before.
Yeah.
Right? And how well Kinsley's reading and writing. Like she fucking wrote a story the other day, and you could actually read it.
It wasn't all spelled correctly, but you could make it out, and it was just the cutest thing.
But ever. I think homeschooling had a lot to do with that, because you had control over what was being taught, right?
Yeah.
And it was the important things without all of the junk filler stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just focusing on what mattered, and it really, really showed. So I think it served its purpose.
Absolutely.
But just like everything else, once it's done serving its purpose, you have to move on.
Yep.
You know, and being in school is important because you need to be around your peers. You need to learn life lessons, how to be around other people, and how to navigate life, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That serves its purpose also.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'll never forget those. I mean, it's still now to this day when I see Kinsley, like with her friends, like every day after school, we're walking. Now it's beautiful out most of the days. And so I'm walking Kinsley to school in the morning, and I'm walking Kinsley home from school or at the end of the day. And they're just like, bye to all their friends. Bye. Yeah. You know, bye Kinsley. See you on Monday. And I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
it's just the sweetest. Yeah.
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 So that's really good. I'm glad we did that. I mean, Kinsley's finished now her first year of kindergarten. She's just gonna keep thriving.
Yeah.
She's very much a people person too. She loves talking and just being around other kids. So that's great. So yeah, kids are doing good. All in all, I think the last year has definitely had its
kicked me in the ass, but
it didn't just kick me in the ass. It kicked my ass 100%. I've never had my ass kicked like that, and I've been through some shit.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, even this year, it's just May, and I feel like it's been the longest fucking year of my life.
Yeah.
And it's been 5 months.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, okay. I hope the hardest part is over.
I think it is.
I think so.
Because I felt last year that, like I said, I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do anything out in the yard. I didn't want to go outside in the summer. I didn't even want the summer. I was ready for it to just be over. I was just done with everything. And this year, I feel like I'm ahead of the game, and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I feel really, really good about it.
I do too.
So I think good things are going to come. Life's going to keep on lifing, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to get smacked in the mouth a couple more times.
I think that's important to know, is like, just because you get to this, like, this next level, if you want to call it a next level, because I think we're all, as humans evolve, we're just leveling up, and sometimes we get knocked down, but then we rise again to another level, right?
Yeah.
I think that I just lost my train of thought where I was going with that. Shoot.
That's okay.
Guess it wasn't that important. Guess I wasn't supposed to share that.
Probably not. But yeah, I think like you get to a certain point, and then you get knocked down, and then you just have to keep going. And, you know, just keep going, baby.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, was that even though you are, you know, you've learned a bunch of stuff, now it doesn't mean that life is just going to be cake the rest of the time. You're going to still have these life moments that come about, but you're leveled up. So then you are operating from a different perspective,
right.
And then you make different choices
and then
in those hard moments.
Life all over again.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the hard times are still going to like keep coming, but you're going to be able to attack them in a different way, right. Or come at them a different way. And I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of promising, you know, like, okay. And that's one thing I've really started to realize is like, we both through our whole life have gone through some crazy ass shit, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're alive.
Still going.
We've gotten through it. And so that's just kind of like the promise, is like, you're going to face some hard shit, but as long as you just keep going,
right,
you're going to be okay.
Just keep going, baby.
You're going to get through it. Yeah.
I guess a little backstory on the just keep going, baby. Cause I don't think we've talked about that.
Oh yeah. Your tattoo.
Cause that was after Mom passed. So I didn't do any podcasts or anything like that. My mom passed, and I had, an opportunity to dive deep into a psilocybin journey, and I did, and I was able to be with my mom for a little while. it was great. And we talked about things, and it was really along the lines of like, what do we do now? What do you do on your end, and what do I do on my end, and where do we go from here, and how do we navigate life? And one thing that she kept telling me was, just keep going, baby. Just keep going, baby. And I can hear her voice when she tells me that, which is, it's nice.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting that tattooed on my arm, and that was one of the, it still is, and I think it will always be one of those things that just keeps me going. And I have an opportunity to look down and see it and hear my mom and have that voice, that special drive behind it, that just helps me keep going.
Yeah. And I think, we both, obviously, we have a tendency to, not that we would ever actually take our own life. It's a very real thing. And I think people just don't want to talk about it. They think it's just too taboo. But I guarantee you 80% or higher people in this world have these feelings,
especially nowadays,
of just wanting to end it all.
Right.
And having that with you, I think is important, because when you do get to an all-time low, those are when those, the demons come, they start stirring in you, and you have these thoughts of it. And so you'll always have that reminder, just to, no matter how low you get, to just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. You're going to get out of it as long as you just keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. And that's an important message for everybody. It's just like, that's, I guess, to kind of wrap this up, that's the reason I started this podcast, was because I don't feel like there's enough channels for people to talk about real shit in real life.
The darkness, the demons, the things that we just kind of bury down and don't want to talk about.
It's the darkness. Whereas like a lot of things are just happy-go-lucky, the best of everything.
The toxic positivity. Ugh. Right.
But we are human, and we all go through similar things through life, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's negative, and it's just, nobody wants to talk about negative shit. But
it helps people not feel so alone in what they've gone through.
Exactly. For us to sit here and explain, like, me and you could be on social media and just show everything hunky-dory, and everybody's like, God, Matt and Stacy got the best fucking life, right? But you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know any of that. So I think it's important to sit down and have conversations like this in front of the camera and in front of people on the podcast, to let them know, like, you're not alone. Life is hard.
And
other
it's
people are going through it too.
To have those dark thoughts and feelings.
It is. You just have to make sure you get past them.
Yeah. Right? Seek help if you need help.
Yeah.
And
I try to open myself up for stuff like that. I do talk to people periodically, like mostly at work. But people come to me with hard shit sometimes, and I don't thrive on it, but I think I have a lot of good information and some life experience, especially being kind of down in negative, dark spots and pulling myself out of it, that I can offer guidance. And I think that still resonates today as far as doing the podcast. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring it back, because life's been shit for the past year. Not shit, I take that
There's
back.
some good moments.
We've had good moments, but like I said, it kicked my ass.
Yeah.
But here I am, a year later, and I'm just keep going, pick myself up, and life is life. We all go through it, but you have to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
To wrap it up, this is the first, I don't know, probably the first of like 12 episodes, because we won't get a whole lot of episodes in, because we're still lifing and we're busy, and we're busy being people and taking care of ourselves and our family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was good.
You'll share some content when it's aligned and
ready. So big message is, nobody on this earth is alone. Don't feel like you're alone. People are going through hard shit that you just don't see. But also remember that when you come in contact with other people, that everybody's going through something, right?
Yeah.
So be nice, act out of love to other people and to yourself, and things are going to be okay.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm ready to go get some food.
Yes.
We're going to go enjoy our date night.
Day.
Enjoy the beautiful weather.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was raining when we came here, and I can't believe that it
just for us
stopped raining for this whole
for
time.
Us. Yeah. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll have more of these coming up, and yeah, we'll just keep it going. Thanks, babe.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you. I really gotta pee.